I first heard the term progressive rock music, I think it was probably in the late 60s, and it was being applied to those bands who came about at the end of the 60s. For instance, Cream might have been thought as being the first progressive rock band, because although they came from a world of I mean, obviously Eric Clapton's work as a blues artist with John Mayall had already made him legendary. Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker played with the Graham Bond organisation, which were essentially a kind of a slightly jazz-based but progressive R&B band in the mid-60s. And so when Cream formed, it was a bunch of guys who were known to be superlative musicians in their day. And I think the word progressive rock, small p, small r, it was just a very gentle and general term for rock music, which was looking to step a little bit outside the boundaries of rock as a genre, which was defined by the early days of Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, and then I suppose maybe you would include the R&B of the Animals and the early Rolling Stones as a kind of a rock genre. But progressive rock was taking a step forward. Arguably maybe the very first progressive rock album, although I suppose you should call it a progressive pop album, would be Sgt. Pepper. And Pink Floyd's Piper at the Gates of Dawn. You know, these would be the first truly progressive albums. They stepped right out into a world of musical exploration, of studio technique exploration, of sonic exploration, and trying to do things with sounds and stepping outside the material world of conventional R&B and pop and rock, and creating things with a little bit more abstract quality. They were, I suppose Sgt. Pepper was in some ways rather naive, but charmingly so, very colourful. You know, maybe you know, rather like some of the naive painters, it drew us into it. Maybe almost, you know, somewhere between a Rousseau and a Magritte. It drew us into things. It wasn't incredibly skillfully played, but it was beautifully laid out. It was adventurous. It took us into another world. Same thing with Pink Floyd. They weren't great musicians, but they created a really interesting, attractive sonic landscape. And so they're perhaps the first progressive rock albums or progressive pop albums. I think progressive rock maybe around 68, 69 became a reality, because there were bands like Traffic and King Crimson, who were, and The Nice, to name some of the marquee bands, who were being a little bit more evolved, a little bit more musically adventurous. Yes, you know, in a kind of a more charming, idiosyncratic kind of hippie love and peace sort of a way. And I suppose Jethro Tull a little later on, when we started to play music which was not just the blues. In fact, the stand-up album in '69, I mean, progressive rock is probably quite a good term for that. But prog rock is a whole and very different and very worrying beast. Prog rock seems to suggest a somewhat over-the-top, arrogant, overly confident, self-indulgent, slightly anal kind of obsession with instrumental capability and showing it off. So, you know, Steve Howe from Yes, God bless him, fine guitar player, but it became a series of showcases for individuals within a band to do these party piece instrumental sections, and it's a bit annoying, really. It's a bit irritating once you've seen it once. You say, okay, well, we know you're a good guitar player, but, you know, shut up and get on with it.